Welcome, everyone, to our interview series, Heroes of COVID-19. My name is Hayden Lee. I'm a Master Certified Executive Life and Leadership Coach. And if you're like me, I want to hear some positivity now and some good news and some inspiring stories. So that is the purpose of why I started Heroes of COVID-19 interview series, to hear from people on the front lines, to hear what is happening from our essential workers and to hear their inspiring stories and to learn a little bit about them. So through this interview series, we're going to be talking to healthcare workers, grocery store workers, delivery workers, homeschooling parents who are doing it for the first time, teachers, just everyone who's really helping our world run right now. And I just want to hear from them and for everyone to see what it's really like. So today I'm so excited to be talking to Paige Brewer, who she is on the front lines every day working at a grocery store in Northern California. And I am personally dying to know what it's been like in the grocery stores this last month. So welcome, Paige. I'm so excited you're here. So tell us a little bit about, what's been happening at the grocery store this last month.
So this last month it's probably been the most organized it's been since everything started. We've just been trying our absolute best to make sure that we're keeping up with like the high demand with everything and making sure that ourselves, my fellow associates and our guests are being safe, and we're making sure everything is clean and sanitized, and we're just trying to keep a nice, healthy, and calm environment.
Yeah, that's so important. When I talked to you on the phone yesterday, Paige, you said something really cool about being an essential worker. Can you share a little bit about what's going through your head as you're going to work while most of us are staying at home? What's that been like?
So I was there the first night, everything happened, or when it kind of hit, the West Coast, that it was coming, it was happening. And it was, at first, it was really scary to think that it's getting so close to home. And, it was just suddenly, it was just like mass panic. And it was really scary at first, but now that a little bit of time has passed, we have been able to put a lot of plans into place, and we've been able to put some restrictions on things so that we make sure that everybody has a little bit of everything. And it's like this whole thing, this is such a great experience to be able to talk about and express what it's like as a grocery store worker, and being so close to everything and having to deal with the mass panic that everybody's going through, not only as a worker, but also as somebody who has a family and have to come home. So it's really crazy, but we're really doing the best that we can.
Yeah. Well, I think, the work that you're doing is super important. And something you said yesterday that really struck a chord with me is when you talked about how before, you shared with people, you work at a grocery store, and people, oh yeah, that's cool. But now there's a different feel when you tell people you work at a grocery store. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like I had said, I was there the first night that everything kind of happened, and it was really crazy to see that, on a normal Tuesday night, we had gone from, we'd barely make any money, profit wise, but that one random Tuesday we had made close to Christmas sales.
Wow.
So we were all very surprised. Our store closes at 11, and we didn't get out of there till around 11:30, 11:45, because people were coming through. But it was so crazy to think that you just become an essential within just a matter of a day. It was just such hey, you are important, And like I said yesterday, it was, I tell people, or they'd ask, oh, what do you do for work? It's like, oh, I just work at a grocery store in California. And they're just like, okay, that's cool. Grocery store is nice, but just after that one day, everybody's like, thank you so much. You were doing so much for everybody, thank you. It's just this overwhelming sense of just thank you. And it's really nice, and I appreciate it so much. It's so nice to be thanked for being an essential and being so looked upon. And it's even now, it's just working at a grocery store, it's just like, no, it's like, it's the doctors, it's the nurses, it's they deserve thank. They're the ones who are like in direct contact with everybody, and it's just it's so overwhelmingly, I appreciate every time. I appreciate it so much. Yeah.
And I can see you getting a little bit like emotional a little bit, kind of.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, tell me, what's the emotion happening for you right now, thinking about what you just said?
It's a little overwhelming, but at the same time, like I said, we're starting to get into a rhythm of, we're wiping everything down, all of the handles, all of the counters. We're putting up plexiglass between the check stands, each department. And my job is I'm pro clean. So I go to the store at 5 a.m. and I'm there till usually about 1:32. I'm just cleaning the entire store, making sure that all of the handles are sanitized, everything is clean, all of the pin pads where you put your card in. I'm making sure that everything is clean and sanitized. And it's, like I said, it's a little overwhelming to have such pressure of like, I have to make sure that on such a strict schedule that everything is clean.
Yeah.
But it makes it worthwhile, because anytime like somebody walks by and I'm wiping down handles, or just I have just like a solution or like a sanitizer in my hand, they're like, thank you, like, we appreciate it, you're keeping us safe. And it's just as simple as that little thank you. It's just thank you for still coming to our store, and still you're being safe by wearing masks or wearing gloves or just any kind of face covering. It's like, thank you for being conscious of what's going on and keeping us safe and keeping yourself safe and others. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel it. I definitely feel it, Paige. And what I'm hearing from you is this overwhelm, but also this overwhelm of like gratitude for like humanity. Right? Because it sounds like people are taking care of each other. Because while you're working hard and we're thanking you for being on the front lines, you're also thanking customers. Well, thank you for keeping us in business. Thank you for being mindful of our health. And it's kind of a great thing. The kind of loving relationship that you have with your customers and that they have with you.
Yeah, and especially with my store, we are overwhelmingly we love our guests. We have regulars who come into our stores. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times a day, just seeing, we know people by names, we know their kids, we know their families. We have such a wholehearted connection with the guests that come through our store, and just seeing them come to the store and just being like, hey, thank you for everything you're doing. I'm so glad you guys are still open. I'm glad you guys are still working and you're still here for us. And it's very triggering, because it's like, I know these people, I know them, and they're still coming and supporting us, and they're thanking me. And it's just, I'm so grateful for everybody who comes in and still says, just thank you for being here. It's so heartwarming.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that, Paige. And before I move forward, though, with our interview, I want to make a correction. I think I accidentally said your name is Paige Brewer. I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, I just realized that. So I apologize. It's Paige Burks. All right, Paige Burks. So I just wanted to say that before I move, because it was driving me crazy. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
So that, because this is live TV, folks. This is a live interview. So it is Paige Burks. So I apologize for that. So Paige, yeah. So thank you for that. Sorry for that that mistake. But I wanted to follow up with what you said of you spending all this extra time at the store, sanitizing everything, cleaning the credit card machine, cleaning doorknobs. So those are obviously added responsibilities that weren't there a month ago, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about all these added kind of things that we didn't even need to think about a month ago, right?
So when this whole thing started, at first we were doing, when we heard it was coming to just down the West Coast, and it was coming to where I work, we were just kind of like, okay, we have to put something in place. So what we started doing is we started buying a solution called C18, and it is just a very strong sanitizing disinfectant solution. And what we were doing is, I believe it started out as every hour we were wiping down keypads, like the buttons we use at the check stands and like the scanners. We were doing that every hour. And as it started to get busier and a lot of guests were like, hey, I don't want to touch this. We were like, okay, we need to do this every 30 minutes. So, and that mostly just went for like the front end where the check stands were, where we had most guest contact. And within the last month and a half, we started doing every 30 minutes and also as well as every 2 hours. So within that 2 hour period, or in that hour from 10 to 11, we were wiping down. That's when we started wiping down absolutely everything that came into guest contact at all. So we were wiping down front doors. We were wiping down the in like produce. We were wiping down all of the chrome, all of the scales, all of the just counters in general and stuff. And we were trying to make sure that guests could see, but also we could keep track of what we were doing. That we were making sure that we were keeping everything as clean as possible for not only ourselves but for our guests.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. All this extra duties and all this extra work, and so much more mindfulness of what guests even touch. Probably things you didn't even realize. Guests are touching. And I really acknowledge how you all are adapting to the guest needs. But I want to ask you this, Paige. What's keeping you going, right? Because there's all these extra responsibilities, and it sounds like a stressful environment with all these things you got to keep in mind. But what is motivating you to keep going? What's motivating you at work?
It's my associates, my fellow associates, my coworkers, my bosses, and just all of the guests that come into the store. I want to make sure that when I go home and when they go home, they know that everything that they had come into contact with, whether it be down at the check stand or in the break room or in the back room, I want to know, or I want them to know that I kept everything clean. I did everything that I possibly could to make sure that they were safe when they go home to their families, and I was safe when I come home to my family, and our guest goes home to their families. It keeps me going knowing that I am doing everything in my power to keep everybody safe. And that's, during this time, that's the most important thing, is I want everybody to be as safe as possible.
That's incredible, Paige. No, I love it. I love your passion coming out. So Paige, when you do come home from a long day at work at the store, knowing that you did your best, keeping everyone as clean as possible, as safe as possible, how does that make you feel?
It's a good mix of a lot of things. The first thing that comes to mind is it's tiring. 5 a.m. shifts. Nobody likes doing 5 a.m. shifts, but I see so many other associates of mine, especially our nighttime stock team. When this whole thing started, they were all pulling 12, 13, 14-hour shifts, just making sure that we had everybody, or we had everything to provide for our guests. And I want to be able to do as much as they were doing when this whole thing started, and they're still doing it. Our nighttime manager, he's there, for the last 2.5 months, he's been there for 13, 14-hour shifts, just making sure that when we get a shipment in that night, it all goes out on the floor. So when the next morning comes, we have everything. And, if a guest asks, oh, do you have this? Do you have that? We can say, yes, we have it. We have everything you need. Wow. And that's what really keeps me going, is I want to do as much work as they're doing.
That really is inspiring. I'm getting the warm fuzzies and chills as you share this story, Paige, because it really sounds, even within your team at the store, it really seems like a team effort. What you're saying is you have coworkers and associates pulling their weight. You want to make sure you pull your weight too. Yeah. And it's we're all in this together. Sounds like. I do have a question though, now that we're talking about keeping things restocked. So you can answer this however you want, but I'm curious, what's up with the toilet paper? What
God.
I mean, there's the psychology behind it, right? People are hoarding and they're getting scared, but what's happening on your end? Tell us about what's happening with the toilet paper from your end.
It's me personally, I understand why people they're making sure that they have enough because they knew that we were going to be stuck in our homes. But I would think it would be more important that you would grab, like canned goods or, non-perishable foods instead, because that's going to last you a little bit longer. But I want to say about a month or so ago, we started putting a limit on how much everybody could get. Because like I said, we wanted to make sure that everybody gets everything. And a lot of our guests, people who come to our store, we have a lot of elderly people who come through. So we are putting a hold on, you can only get like one tissue or like one thing of paper towels. You can only get 2 types of papers. Like that was it. You can get either one thing of toilet paper, you can get 2, you can get 1 toilet paper, you can get 1 box of tissues, so on and so forth. But we are just trying to make sure that everybody gets everything, because that first week we were just completely taken aback. It was just day after day. We were making close to almost Christmas sales. We were up 1,000% in sales within that first week. Yeah. Oh, I know, it was totally crazy. We were all like freaking out, but it's finally starting to kind of become the new normal, as weird as that is to say. But we're trying to make sure that when we get a shipment, and if we get one in, that we put so much out at a time that, somebody could get some, or, we make sure that our associates have some as well. So we have some just for us to make sure that we at least get 1 or we get 2, but also enough so our guests can, it's still that it sucks because that aisle is still kind of empty, but we still have some that are still like reasonably priced, and we make sure that there's at least some for everybody. But our associates, most of all, we just want to make sure that, at the end of their shift or before they come in, that they can get some as well. Yeah.
I think, there was that mass panic at the beginning. And like you said, I think things are stabilizing and becoming more normal for whatever that means, right? At this new normal. So Paige, I want to ask you, what are you learning about yourself through all this?
I'm learning that I definitely have the ability to do more than what I was before, because before this whole thing started, I was mostly checking, and I was only doing pro clean, twice a week. Clean full time now, having that be my everyday thing, it definitely made me learn that I can do a lot more than I thought I could. Now that they stuck me with this thing, and they're like, this is what you're doing now, you have this responsibility. And it was like, all right, cool, let's do this. Like, what do I need? What kind of like chemicals do I need to use? It was just like okay, I want to do this. I want to get this done. And it was really scary at first to be like, I'm literally resting the entire sanitation of the store on my shoulders. But now that it's I'm getting into the routine of doing it, it's just like, okay, I can do this at this time. I can do that at that time. I can still move what I would normally do from like 9 to 11. I can move that around and still incorporate, sanitizing and cleaning in those 2 hours. Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot more, but it's very energizing in a way, because it's, like I said, 5 a.m. shifts, nobody likes those. Those aren't fun, but when you first walk into work and you have like a list of stuff to do, you're like, all right, cool, I can get this all done before noon. Yeah. So that's really what's keeping me going through all of this.
Yeah. So with this lesson of learning or knowing you can do more, what's possible for you?
It's just, just as one person, it definitely makes you rethink like your own like personal sanitation and hygiene. And it's just, I cannot emphasize enough, the importance of just something as simple as just washing your hands. That is my biggest thing is, if you wash your hands for that 20 seconds, or, you just cover your mouth when you're going outside, that can make a world of a difference. And it's having to be, so strict with not only myself, but also my associates, and telling them, hey, you have to do this, or you have to make sure that, your face is covered, and you have to make sure that the guests who come into our store, that their face is covered. And it's very, oh gosh, how do I even explain it? It's more or less just a feeling of like, I just want to make sure that I'm protected as well as our guests, because they're the one who's keeping us in business. They're the one they're the reason I still have a job, and it's, yeah.
No, I love that. There, it comes up again, that like a reciprocal gratitude that I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Reciprocal, yeah. So as we begin to wrap this up, Paige, I wanted to ask you. Obviously, there's lots of stress and challenges that we've encountered the last month or two. But what would you say are the biggest gifts that have come out of this?
I would definitely say that I am more close with my family because of this, they're on quarantine as well. They're working from home. I come home so early during the day. I get to spend more time with them. I get to make dinner with my family. I get to eat with my family, and I'm so grateful for that, despite, the circumstances. And I know with a lot of people coming home from school, and a lot of homeschooling parents with everything, and one of my best friends, she was in school in San Francisco. She had to come home, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, this is so nice, and not having to be so far. But it's really nice. You don't really think like how far, like how distant you are from your family, even though you're living in the same house. So I am so grateful that I get to spend more time with my parents and my family. And it still sucks that I don't really get to hang out with my friends anymore, but we still find ways. And we through Zoom, we do our own thing, or like FaceTime, or we all play like video games together. And it's definitely bringing a lot of people together in a lot of ways than just being, face to face with somebody. It's very nice that we're still connected in a way that's not like physical.
Yeah. I love your positive attitude, right? And trying to find the silver lining in everything, right? Mm-hmm. So lastly, Paige, I wanted to ask you, what are, being a frontline hero, right? Being a frontline worker, being an essential worker in the grocery store, keeping us all, fed, and giving us all of our supplies that we need. What words of inspiration, or what words of advice would you like to tell our viewers on what you would like them to know about you and about being in the grocery store?
I think my biggest words of inspiration is just, oh gosh, there's so many, is just make sure you are keeping not only yourself safe, but make sure you're keeping others safe. If you don't have to leave the house, then just please stay home. I know everybody gets bored every now and then at home, and it sucks not going out, but, I want to make sure that everybody is safe. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I would hate for anybody to get sick, especially if somebody went to the store, came home, and they got sick. That would just, it would just kill me. If you can, just stay home, stay inside, have fun with your family, and make up some games, order some board games from Amazon, or, make up your own games. Everybody can learn a good card game here and there. I've never played more cards in my life than I have in the last month, but I just want everybody to be as safe as they possibly can. If you don't need to leave the house, then just please don't. I want to stop this as soon as possible. Like, I would love to go outside and go to restaurants again. Everybody would love to just enjoy the outdoors again and do whatever they want to do. And we have to do that by staying together and, staying at home. We need to keep each other safe as best as we can.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paige. Those are great words, and thank you from me to you for, keeping us fed and safe and doing your essential work. And thank you to your team. You were saying people are working 12, 13, 14 hours, keeping those, shelves stocked. And I think that's a great point, that because nothing is really open, people tend to just go to the grocery store when they're bored. And you're encouraging people, please don't do that. Please go to the grocery store, get what you need, and then go home.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we're all in this together to keep each other safe and healthy. Well, Paige, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing your work. Keep up the good work. And you are definitely one of the heroes of COVID-19 when we look back at this time. No, it's true. When we look back at this time, I've seen some, posts on Facebook. When we look back at this time, we're not going to be thinking about the actors, the athletes, and the social media influencers on Instagram that got us through this time. It was people like you, Paige. It was people like our doctors, our healthcare workers. You mentioned Amazon, ordering games on Amazon. Those Amazon workers got to get games. So we're really learning about who really is essential, and you are definitely one of them. So thank you for your work.
And thank you for doing this series, because it definitely gives all of us an opportunity to really say, because everybody knows it's hard, that we're doing our best, but this whole series, it gives us all an opportunity to tell you, like, this is really what's going on. And I think this is such a great opportunity to be able to tell my own personal story from my store and from my home, that this is this is such a great opportunity. So thank you very much for doing this. It really means a lot.
Well, you're welcome. And it was a great getting to know you, great talking to you, and let's be in touch. And and thank you, all of our viewers, for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please share on your social media. And thank you, Paige, for being one of the heroes of COVID-19. And everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and for the meantime, stay home.
Yeah.
So, thank you, everyone.